Hello everyone and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be exploring Class 7 Science, Chapter 12, Reproduction in Plants. Now, there are two types of reproduction. Let's zoom in to see what they are. Sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction. Now, we're basically going to be focusing more on the asexual reproduction because there are more varieties, but we are obviously still going to be looking a little bit at sexual reproduction too. So asexual reproduction has vegetable propagation, budding, fragmentation, and spore formation. Now the vegetative propagation has natural and artificial reproduction. Now the natural one needs roots, stems, leaves, and more things that are already present on the plant. In artificial, there are two ways, which is cutting and grafting. Grafting, Grafting. Okay. Now let's look at asexual reproduction. Vegetative propagation. Now first, I want to tell you the stem, leaves and roots part, which is the natural reproduction. Now in natural reproduction, that is normal. It happens how it's meant to. And then in the natural, you use roots which grow, and that's basically your reproduction. Now artificial. Artificial is when you cut the branches of a plant and putting it elsewhere in the soil. Now the plant will grow out of the stem. So example can be roses. Now that's cutting is one type. Grafting is another. When another plant's root is combined with another plant's stem, so the new plant will have the characteristics of both plants. That can happen in apples. Now also focus that you get a root of a plant and then you stick a stem of another plant and the tissues form and then the plant will grow. Now some advantages of vegetative propagation is that if grown with vegetative propagation, the plant will grow faster than the one with sexual reproduction. The plant will also have the same everything, the same characteristics, the same looks, the same everything as the parent. Now budding. Budding is the second type of asexual reproduction in plants. Now yeast is a fungi which is unicellular, which means it only has single cell. It can reproduce every few hours if all the supplies the yeast needs is there. Okay? The yeast divides into a smaller yeast called bud. The bud then keeps dividing and forms a chain. So let me draw how it will look. So if you have a yeast like this is the cell. Now it's gonna form a bud. Now a bud is dividing out of it. Now that will keep dividing into even more, and eventually it's gonna form a chain of buds. Hope you got that. Now let me rub this out and let's move on. Now fragmentation. Fragmentation is when algae like spirogyra live in water. Now when they get the right condition, they divide in a short period of time. So basically the algae just divides and then they have more algae. That's how algae grows. Spore formation. Now what is a spore formation? This is when a plant's spore floats in the air and germinates when they find the right climate conditions. They have an outer cover which protects the spore from getting ruined. Example is mosses and ferns. So It's basically like pollination, but it's different. It's spores, not pollens, grains, but spores floating. So examples are mosses and sexual reproduction. Now, how does sexual reproduction work? Now, the flowers are the reproductive organ that participate in sexual reproduction process. Sorry. The male reproductive part is the stamen. The female reproductive part is the pistil. Unisexual flowers are flowers which either contain stamen or the pistil. Example can be papaya, watermelon, etc. Bisexual flowers are the flowers which contain both stamen and pistil, meaning they have both sex, meaning male and female. Okay? Example can be lily, rose, brinjal, petunia, and mustard, and etc. Now let's look at the stem. The anthers contain pollen grains. So this is the anther. If you open the anther, you will find pollen sacs. These pollen grains produce male gametes. Now, keep male gametes in your head, and I'll tell you what they are just in a second. Now, you have got the filament, okay? So if you have a flower like this, then this is going to be our filament, and then this is going to be our anther. Okay, let's write that out and move on. Pistil. Now, pistil is the female reproductive part. The stigma is a sticky surface where pollen grains get stuck to. Style is the tube which connects the ovary with the stigma. The ovary is where the female eggs or gametes are found. Okay, so this is our stigma, this is our stigma, this is our style, and this is our ovary, and it contains ovules. Plants have two types of parts, vegetative and reproductive. These parts help in survival of the plant. Okay, the vegetative parts help in the survival of plant, roots, stems, leaves. But reproductive help in reproduction process, flowers and fruit. Okay, hope you got that. Just a second. I'm doing everything that we did. Now let's move on. How do the male gametes reach the female gametes? Now let's talk about what is a gamete. Now a gamete is an organism's reproductive cells. Okay? Reproductive cells. Now another term will come up which is zygote. Zygote is a fertilized egg, and we will understand more of it just in a second. The male and female gametes fuses and form a zygote, meaning they come together and they form a zygote, which is a fertilized egg. This is done by pollination. The pollen grains have an outer covering that helps them survive harsh weather climates. Wind insects carry the light-weighted pollen grains and put it elsewhere. The process of transfer of pollen grains from one stigma to another is known as pollination. Two types of pollination: self-pollination, autogamy, and cross-pollination, which is xenogamy. The pollen grains sometimes land on the same stigma from where they started from. This will only happen in bisexual flowers, where both male and female parts are found. Cross-pollination can be when the pollen grains fall on a different flower. So another flower's pollen grains fall on another flower. That can be the same type or different type of flower. Now this will only happen in bisexual flowers, the self-pollination, because you need both of the sexes to be there, male and female parts, in order to reproduce. Okay. So this is self-pollination. So the pollens flow to the stigma, and when another flower's pollens reach another flower's stigma, that is cross-pollination. Now this is pollen tube, and this is our ovum forming. This is our zygote formation. Okay, that's pollen grain germinating. The formation of zygote is called fertilization. The zygote develops and turns into a embryo. Seed dispersal. Now, the formation of zygote is called fertilization. So, the formation of zygote is when you call that is a fertilized zygote, meaning it has gone through the process of fertilization. Seed dispersal. When a seed of a plant is transported to another place. So the seeds are carried by the wind and they flow to another place and they can germinate over there. How are fruits and seeds formed? After fertilization process, the ovary of the flowers grow and develop into a fruit. The remaining parts of the flower fall off. The ovules develop and form seeds of the fruit. The embryo is enclosed inside the seeds. Okay? Difference between sexual and asexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction is when no seeds are needed. But in sexual reproduction, you will need seeds. Okay? So that's the difference between asexual and sexual reproduction. With that, we have finished this chapter. If you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, comment them down below and I'll get back to them as soon as possible. Hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something new, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then, take care and bye bye.